I'm out here in the snow today in 25-degree weather here in the Northeast, right after a snowstorm to remind you that Valentine's Day is a week away. And it was too cold outside is not going to fly as an excuse when you forget to get a gift for your significant other. So I'm going to show you how to make this jewelry stand for under $30 in less than an hour with just basic power tools, no table saw, no miter saw required. And along the way, I'll explain to you why I'm in the snow in the first place. Let's get started. This jewelry stand is an awesome gift for the lady in your life. It can hold their necklaces, bracelets, rings, really any type of jewelry. And what's great about it is because it's vertical, it takes up a lot less counter space. This build is a heavily modified version of a design by Erin Spain, so I'm going to link her free plans in the description below for basic measurements. After this video, definitely go check out Erin. She does a lot of really great work. I have no affiliation, by the way, I'm just a fan. And those plans are completely free, by the way. You know, I'm not going to try and sell you paid plans, don't worry. But hitting that subscribe button is always appreciated if you're into practical woodworking content for regular people without super shops or unlimited budgets. You can see in my case, I did an initial build based off the original spec, and that turned out great. So we're going to start by breaking down our pieces. And I decided to use what I think is probably the most accessible wood for most people, and that is good old-fashioned Home Depot pine board. It costs around 20 bucks for an 8-foot board. The original version that I showed you was made of oak. You can really do it with whatever wood you want, but if pine is the budget, there's no problem at all. Just stay tuned because there are some unique challenges when you use a softer wood, especially from a big box store, but I'll show you how to manage those as we go along. All right, we can cut all this up really quickly and easily with a circular saw if that's all you have. I don't personally have the space for a table saw or a miter saw, which by the way is why I tend to work in my yard in the first place. You can do a lot more with your circular saw than a lot of people like to give it credit for, no matter what the gatekeepers or the woodworking gurus like to tell you. But of course, if you have a table saw or a miter saw already, feel free to break those out. It's definitely going to be easier, but not really necessary. You'll notice that I put down some wooden blocks on my workbench as I'm cutting my pieces. I'm sure a lot of people do this with the blocks. I learned this technique from The Honest Carpenter, who is one of my favorite creators on YouTube. And it works particularly well if you don't have a lot of surface area to work on, because you don't need an outfeed table or anywhere specific for the outfeed to rest on. Now, what I wouldn't suggest doing is just letting your pieces fall to the ground. I know it's tempting and it's easy, but those pieces are going to get damaged or dirty, and that's going to be a no-go if you have an eagle-eyed fiance like I do. Just make sure that you set your depth adjustment on your circular saw shallow enough so that you're not actually cutting through the table. You're just cutting maybe half an inch or a quarter of an inch below the workpiece itself. Now that we have our pieces cut up, I'm going to drill some holes for the many dowels that we're going to be using in this project, not just for the necklace rod on the top piece, but I'm also going to use a through dowel technique to attach the shelf and the bottom piece as well. And as you're drilling these holes, also keep in mind that that bottom piece, I'd recommend elevating so that the bottom is about a quarter inch or so off the ground. And the reason for this is because those side pieces are going to be able to act like legs, which is going to be much easier to make sit on a surface flush rather than relying just on the absolute flatness of that bottom piece. And if you do need to make a fix at the end to make things level, it's going to be a lot easier to do that on the ends of these board pieces rather than on the entire face of that bottom. Now, pocket holes are totally fine for this application as well. That's what the original project uses. And my first version I built used this technique. It's totally fine. I'm not one of those anti-pocket hole YouTubers. And actually, if you work outside like I do, pocket holes are amazing a lot of the time because you don't have to worry about getting wood glue to cure in less than ideal outdoor temperatures. So pocket screws are awesome, but I just wanted to give you an option in case you don't own a pocket hole jig. Those can be a little bit expensive, anywhere from around $50 to $100 or so. Since we already have an exposed dowel on the top piece, I thought it would look nice if we balanced it out in the middle and bottom as well. And to round off the dowel mania, we're also going to be adding some dowels in the very bottom to act as ring stands. Now, you don't really need a doweling jig for this. You can totally do it freehand with a drill. Now stay tuned though, because I'm about to make every doweling mistake imaginable that a jig can in some cases guardrail against, so that you don't have to make the same mistakes I did. I'm going to opt for a 3/8 inch thick dowel stock of oak. You probably need two 36-inch pieces to have enough for this project, and that'll cost you around $8 if you do opt for oak. And I chose that wood because I think the contrast will look really nice with the pine, but also because oak will stay stiffer as you put more and more necklaces and jewelry on the rods. I'm also going to opt for a double rod setup for a little bit of extra stiffness, but also because I think it just lays the necklaces out nicely. Plus you get some extra storage that way. You definitely can use small hooks at the underside of the shelf as well. But these ring holders are going to give you a lot more capacity if you need space for a lot of rings. And you'll see at the end why I decided to offset the 2 ring holders. Now you'll see here that I'm drilling through both boards at once. And the reason for that is because I am not a machine and humans are prone to variation. That's just the way it is. So by doing this, I can at least maintain consistency. This might be hard for some perfectionists out there to hear, but oftentimes in woodwork, consistency is more important than precision. Even if I screw up the measurements slightly and drill in the slightly wrong place, at least I screwed up in the exact same way on both sides. So in the end, it's likely that the pieces are still going to fit together. Now, drilling the holes themselves can be a little bit tricky, especially if you are using that Home Depot pine, because it's generally going to have a higher moisture content in it. And basically what that means is that this is going to be about as soft as a soft wood can get, which is going to make it prone to tear out, like this. I'm definitely not immune to it myself. And because we're using a through dowel method, meaning that there's an exit hole, that method is also going to introduce some opportunity for tear out. So what do? The best thing you can do for yourself is to use a backing board, aka another piece of wood, or in my case, I had a scrap piece of MDF lying around, behind or underneath the work pieces, and clamp it down tightly so that when you drill through, it'll apply some pressure and reduce tear out at the exit point. Also, make sure that you go nice and slow with your drill, applying even pressure along the way. And here's the truth, even if you do all this and you still get some tear out, do not beat yourself up about it. Especially on cheaper wood, this might be a challenge for you, but it's really a good kind of challenge. Drilling clean holes is a really useful skill to have. So if you do mess up some of the holes, it's really not that big of a deal. Just capture some of the sanding dust that you're going to get from our next step, mix it with a little bit of wood glue, and you have a homemade wood filler that'll hide all of your sins. Sand your pieces up, and if you're anything like me, for edges and smaller pieces, I'll generally turn off my sander and just do it by hand. As I begin to fit the pieces together for a dry fit, I found out very quickly why I was right that consistency is much more important than precision. Somehow I marked and drilled one of my holes for my shelf a little bit too high. This one sucks. And I didn't have enough wood left over to remake both sides, so like many things in life, we're just gonna have to make it work. I realized that in some ways dowels are actually pretty forgiving, right? At the end of the day, the shelf is still gonna line up just fine, but now that I'm drilling that secondary hole into the side of the shelf piece, I just need to angle things a little bit to make sure that we catch as much of the middle of that board as possible. Obviously you wanna be careful not to drill all the way through, but this is something I think most people can eyeball pretty easily. Use a flush cut pull saw to finish off those dowel ends. Until you really master your technique, I probably put down a little bit of painter's tape on the side just to make sure you don't scratch up your piece. So I put my theory to the test and voila, it actually worked really well. Yes, the outside dowel is still slightly off center. And yes, I'm gonna be thinking about it every single time I look at this piece in my house. But honestly, that's just part of building personal projects and improving your skills. And to be honest with you, it's not the kind of thing that most normal people actually notice unless they're also really into woodworking. So if you're building projects just for friends and family, and you gift something to somebody and they pull out a microscope, the problem isn't so much with your pieces, it's really the fact that you need new friends. Now, if you do want factory precise dowel holes, you can always shop at IKEA. Now that you have your piece together, I'd recommend finishing with a poly finish for durability, but you can use whatever you want. Poly is what I used on that oak version, but this one I'm actually gonna leave unfinished for now until I decide if I wanna stain it or not. Let me know in the comments if you think I should, and let me know which one of these two versions you think is better. So there you have it, a simple, easy to build, and inexpensive last minute Valentine's gift for your lady, made with basic tools and techniques. And as always, remember to enjoy the build. Thanks for watching.